Welcome to the Menopause Hour, your go-to source for answers to your burning menopause questions, the ones you won't get from your OBGYN. Brought to you by Winona, where menopause care is made easy. Download our free Winona community app where thousands of women connect and access exclusive content, expert-led courses, exciting events, and more. It's time to take the guesswork out of your hormonal journey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one of our Lunchtime Skincares with Joe. If you've been to our other two, we've had two other ones. We had one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, a little bit what to expect. But if this is your first time at one of these, we're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time during your lunch break or, during your childcare break, or maybe you still got some kids with you. I think that's probably people with all kinds of things going on tuning into these, but we're so glad you're here. We are going to talk about some really cool things today, specifically Ingredients 101, what to look for and what to skip. I know a lot of people have these questions about their skincare ingredients all the time, what's actually kind of in those products that I'm using? What does this look like? So Joe is going to break that all down for us. But we're so glad you're here. Thanks so much for jumping in. I also do want to point out, we would love to have your questions for Joe. If you have any questions about skincare, it can be about ingredients or it could be about something else. We talked a little bit about how to layer skincare products yesterday. If you've got some more questions about that, or maybe you missed that and you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. It should be at the bottom of your screen. And you can just, I'll just say, hi everyone in the chat box, so you can kind of find it if you don't know where it is. But we'd love you to go ahead and drop, where you're listening in from. If you have any questions or any comments, we would love to see them in there. But I am going to let the wonderful Joe take it away. She's been doing such a great job with these already. So Joe, if you want to introduce yourself and jump right in.
Sure. Hello. I'm glad everybody is here. I'm Joe. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually a Winona patient myself and have been since March of 2022. So I've been here quite a while. I've been an employee with Winona since April of 2022. So I've been doing that for a while. I'm actually head of patient care services. So I oversee the patient care team, but I also work side by side with the doctors in terms of education and training and helping them as well. I'm actually a dermatology nurse practitioner by trade, if you will. I'm licensed and certified and all the things. I just have not practiced since July of 2021, partly because I've been here living my best life with Winona. So, but this gives me an opportunity to still talk about skincare, which I love. It's a big part of my life, my daily routine. I said yesterday, I'm not going to call myself an expert, just very well educated. And I had 12 plus years experience in dermatology. So I've retained a few things, and by doing this helps me to retain it even more. So we're going to talk about ingredients today. And I'll just start by saying that, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of ingredients in skincare products. We're going to focus on mostly active ingredients. So when you see names on labels, is that something I need, or what is that? What does it do? So you can better identify. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you some tips, when you have certain skin conditions, which kind of ingredients you want to lean into in your skincare products. And then we're also going to talk about a handful. Some of it is controversial in terms of avoiding certain ingredients. So I'm going to touch lightly on those as well. And when you see me looking over here, I do have notes. I normally do a lot of this stuff off the cuff, but in order to stay on time and stay focused, I made notes and I'm going to follow along. So with all that being said, there are a lot of ingredients out there. And it's hard to know what you need, what's going to work best for you, and what that particular ingredient is going to do for you. And it is impossible to know all of them. You will see a lot of ingredients in products that are not active ingredients. They're part of, I don't want to say fillers, but fillers that make the product, make the other ingredients play well with each other. That's a big part of the chemistry. I learned that as we were developing the face cream. for Winona, talking about like when they were developing it, like some ingredients that we wanted to use didn't play well with others, and that left the quality of the product not where we wanted it to be. And so we actually have a pharmacist that works in our pharmacy, and when he was like talking about all that stuff, I'm like, who knew? I mean, he knew obviously, but I mean, in terms of the science behind it, it's pretty fascinating, at least for me. So if you weren't here yesterday, I just wanted to cover very, very briefly. We talked about the skin layers, and I think that it is important for you to understand the skin layers and know that when you're using products, where you want them to be so that they're the most effective. So there's three main layers. There's multiple layers within the skin, but the three main layers, the top is the epidermis. That's your outer barrier. That's what protects you. That's what insulates everything that's, inside, if you will. It's your first line of defense against the world and all the things. But below that is the dermis. And that's kind of what I always say, this is where the magic happens. That's where you have a blood supply, you have nerves, you have follicles, you have oil glands, you have the melanocytes that give your skin color are located there. And so that's where we ideally want some of these active ingredients to penetrate to. It actually is important. That's when you're going to see an impact from skincare product. If it's just sitting on the top of your skin, yeah, you're probably going to notice some benefit. Like, for example, if you have really dry skin and you put a moisturizer on, you're probably going to notice that your skin is more hydrated when you have done that. But if there's lots of dead skin cells or the skin isn't in the best quality, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but like you put moisturizer on and it's like, well, did I even put any moisturizer on? So there's not a lot of action happening on that top layer. It really is a protective barrier. And then underneath that is sort of a fatty layer that protects you in terms of like physical injury and kind of helps. There's some structures in there that helps to hold the skin where it's supposed to be so that you don't look like you're wearing a sheet, if you will. I'm definitely not going to make it in the comedy world. But anyway, moving right along, we're going to start talking about ingredients. And I have these listed in no particular order. But I am going to stop just for a second because I told Maddie before I started, I had gone to my bathroom to get something before we started. And I thought of something. I'm like, I really need to share that in the presentation. And then I forgot. And so I came back. And then I went back to the bathroom to try to like whatever. And then as I was sitting here and Maddie was doing the introduction, the light bulb went off. In terms of ingredients, when you look at your product and you see the list of ingredients that are all there, what you need to know is the very first ingredient is the ingredient that is the most prevalent in the list of ingredients. And the thing that is at the bottom, there's less of that than there is of this at the top. So keep that in mind. So when you're looking at ingredients, that they're listed out that way intentionally, that like, for example, you see water is the first ingredient. That's the most prominent ingredient in that product. That's not necessarily a bad thing in some cases, but just so when you're reading your labels, that's how that is. And again, these are in no particular order. They're not like my favorite. And they're not alphabetical. I just listed them as they popped into my head. So we're going to start with hyaluronic acid. It's considered what we call a humectant, meaning that it draws water to the area. It's one of the best ways to hydrate dry skin. The way that it works is it draws water to the area where it is placed. And I spoke about this, I think, on day one, talking about like fillers, people who get lip fillers and cheek fillers and stuff. That's hyaluronic acid. It's injected hyaluronic acid, and it draws water to the area as well. So you're not all full of filler. That the hyaluronic acid molecule can hold up to 1,000 times its weight in water. So it really pulls the water. And one of the things that does is if you have fine lines and wrinkles, it helps to kind of smooth those out simply because the skin is expanding. And so those lines are going to be less noticeable. One of the best ways to use it is to make sure that the skin is damp. We did talk a little bit about this yesterday. I'm not going to touch on this on everyone, but particularly with hyaluronic acid. If the skin is a little bit damp, either from a toner product or an essence prep type like product, you're going to get a little more bang for your buck with that hyaluronic acid, and also then following with a thick emollient moisturizer to lock in that that water component is going to give you your best result. There are some concerns though with hyaluronic acid. It can, if used with other active ingredients, more aggressive active ingredients like retinols and things like that, you can get some irritation. I've never found that personally, but I know that some people have reported that. And here's another weird fun fact, depending on where you live in the US. If you live in a really dry climate and you just use hyaluronic acid without following with that thick emollient moisturizer, it can actually dry out your skin, as weird as that may seem. So just keep that in mind. But that's hyaluronic acid. The main thing you want to know is that's your hydration friend, if you will. Kind of like, I don't want to say giving your skin a drink of water, but it does help skin to look more hydrated because it draws water to the area. All right, peptides. We're hearing a lot about peptides. Peptides this, peptides that. There's peptides used for all kinds of things. Basically, those are amino acids. And amino acids actually are what make up proteins. And when we're talking about skincare specifically, the two main proteins that you're going to be concerned with are collagen and elastin. So peptides help. Those are the amino acids to help create those proteins. And you want more collagen and more elastin, because unfortunately, as we get less young, not get older, but get less young, our body's, I don't want to say ability to make it, because it still can, it just doesn't do it with the same intensity and frequency it did when we were in our 20s. So as that production starts to just slow down a little, peptides can kind of be that boost to say, hey, let's make some more proteins, let's make more collagen, let's make more elastin. And those really are the two main things when you see aging skin. There is a significant loss of collagen and a significant loss of elastin. So it's best known for repairing and anti-aging, okay? One of the concerns with peptides is that the size of the molecule, and I believe we talked a little bit about this yesterday, can be a little too large to really penetrate the skin. And it's hard to know like what product you're using, whether or not what size it is. So you can't dictate that, but there are apparently some products out on the market where the peptide molecules are so big that they don't penetrate to that deeper level. They kind of sit on the surface and don't give as much, bang for the buck. So keep that in mind. And they can create or be a little unstable when paired with more active products, again, like your retinols and things like that. They are sometimes paired with them. It's not to say that they can't be, but in some cases, that's just one of the concerns that you might have with peptides. But overall, they're great. All right, ceramides. These are lipid or fat molecules, if you will, and they are a big part of your skin barrier. They help protect your skin. They help from like environmental stressors and help to retain moisture. If you are missing that lipid barrier, people with severely damaged skin, severely dry, crusty skin, they're probably low on the ceramide barrier situation. And they've lost a lot of moisture. So restoring that barrier with products that have ceramides in it, you're going to restore, make that skin stronger, make it more hydrated. It helps to hold the water into the skin. And they're really essential for dry, sensitive skin. People who are dry, sensitive really should be looking for products that have ceramides in them. Concerns? Typically none. The only thing that possibly can happen, and which can happen with any ingredient, and you never know until you know, is that there could be a sensitivity or an allergy that develops from using it. And here's the thing though, this sort of a caveat, like, so say you go and you like, oh, that's me, I need skin barrier protection. You run to the store, you find yourself a product that has ceramides in it. it fits your budget. You come home and you use it and you notice that you get more irritation and whatnot. It isn't necessarily the ceramide ingredient per se that's causing it. It could be any one of the other ingredients in there that could be causing a problem. And people have allergies to all kinds of things, and you never know until you know. So it might behoove you to kind of check ingredients and see, like, compare ingredients in that product to anything else that you're using successfully. And if there's an ingredient in that ceramide product, I'm just using ceramides as an example, or a ceramide product as an example, you might try to isolate something that's different in that product that you don't see in your other products that you do really well with. And that may help you to identify an allergy. So if you wanted to go back to the store and find another ceramide product, try to find one that doesn't have that one ingredient that you think might be the culprit that's causing you some sensitivity and allergy. I've seen people do that. They're like, no, I can't have retinols, or I can't use vitamin C. There are people that truly do have allergies, but every product from every brand is different. None are identical, and there could be one ingredient in one particular brand that's causing you the problem, and you could easily get another brand and use it successfully. So just kind of like a pro tip there for you. I know it's an expense, and it is some trial and error, which stinks, but it is what it is. Niacinamide, that's a B vitamin. B vitamins are all important for hair, skin, and nail growth. And it works in terms of helping to restore the skin barrier as well. Actually does lots of things. I mean, in terms of skin tone and texture, and decreasing sensitivity, and anti-inflammatory properties, and all of those things. Pore size, reduces oil production. It really is like a powerhouse ingredient. There are different strengths. There's lower strengths, I think, down to 2% and up to 10%. So if you are on the sensitive spectrum, I would recommend that you look for products that have a lower percentage of niacinamide. Sometimes they disclose that, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they may not disclose that on the label, but if you go to a website where all products are listed, you might be able to find an information sheet that has more information and may actually tell you what that percentage is. If you have super dry, sensitive skin, I would steer away from the 10%. You really need to kind of think about a lower percentage. And my little thing is ding donging again, so I'm going to get rid of that so that you won't have to listen to my ding dings. Those are messages coming in from patients. Okay, I talked about that. Okay, vitamin C, another vitamin that's ascorbic acid. Vitamin C is a great product, and it's, when people say, well, what's the one thing that you recommend? Well, there's not really one thing that I recommend, because I think that skincare does require more than one thing. But in terms of active products, I love a vitamin C because it does two things. A lot of these products, they either protect or they correct. But vitamin C plays double duty. We only use it in the morning. It can be used at night, but we're usually using other things. But it does double duty. It protects you during the day. It's the antioxidant that prevents free radical damage from environmental stressors and anything that you come in contact with during the day. But it also does help to correct, particularly it improves tone and texture over time. Its biggest note is that discolorations. It's a great product to help reduce and eliminate discolorations over time. Concern can be irritating in higher concentrations, kind of like the niacinamide. There's different percentage strengths. Again, if you're sensitive, you want to look for lower strength. I think 25% may be the highest. I probably should know that, but I don't. I'm almost positive it's 25%. I would steer clear of that. I would start at a lower percentage, and then as you acclimate to it, and your skin remains calm and there's not any problems, then yeah, graduate up to the higher strengths. You're going to get more bang for your buck as you move up the strength, but no need to start at the top. Start down here and work your way up. Because irritated skin is not great skin. Nobody wants to walk around with dry, irritated skin, I don't think. Okay, well, speaking of dry, irritated skin, next up is vitamin A. Retinoids. Retinoids are vitamin A. They are known to be irritating, and that is the intention. They are the powerhouse ingredient for turning over skin cells. And when you turn over skin cells much more rapidly, you can see dryness, you can see redness, you can see irritation. So it does happen. But here's the good news. With all of that happening, you're stimulating collagen and elastin. You're reducing pore size. You're improving tone and texture. You're improving discolorations. Like, for example, acne scars, like hyperpigmented. So say you had a little something and you picked and it left a little hyperpigmented spot. Over time, with the use of retinoids, under there somewhere is unhyperpigmented skin. And so that's one of the great ways to do that. It also, to an extent, does work on physical acne scars. So if there's like a depression in the skin from where an old acne scar was, over time, it can improve the look of those scars and make them look less cratery, if that's a word. But it is irritating, and you must use SPF with it. It really should only be used at night. I know there are some products out on the market where there's retinol in the daytime product. I don't know why. I mean, it's an aggressive active. Everybody, for the most part, uses it at night. And then during the day, yes, you need to use some sort of an SPF to protect your skin. So I'll give you an analogy. I've used a few analogies because I'm kind of a visual person and I think of things in that sense. So think of like a baby, brand new baby with beautiful, fresh, perfect skin. If you're going to the beach with the baby, you're going to put all the things on the hat. You're going to sunscreen, put maybe, SPF or UPF clothing on them. You're going to put them under the umbrella. Why? Because you know that their little fresh baby skin is can burn very, very quickly, right? As compared to us who've been around for a while and we've got old dead skin cells sitting on there providing some measure of protection. Well, the same thing, when you're using a retinoid, you're not going to get back to baby skin per se, but you get pretty close. But you don't have all of those dead skin cells on there that do, oddly enough, provide some measure of protection. You could still very well get burnt with or without using retinoids. Let me just be clear about that. But if you think about it and you get rid of all of that and you have fresh skin, yes. So that's why you want to use SPF. Also, retinol, retin-A, vitamin A is deactivated by exposure to UV. So I have a pro tip here for you. I know a lot of people want to get on a retinoid for all of the reasons that I may have listed before. But if you have skin that is dry, sensitive, irritated, you've got an impaired barrier, my recommendation is to avoid starting that until you get to a place where your skin is hydrated, it's calmer, it's less sensitive, it's less dry before you go running after a retinoid. One, just because there's some people can tolerate the irritation, some people can't, but you don't want to have your skin so irritated that it can't protect itself and it can't heal itself. And that truly can happen. If your skin is in really, really bad shape from like a dry, sensitive, whatever perspective, adding that on is just probably not going to do well. So set that aside until you get to a place where you feel like your skin is in better condition, healthier, and ready to accept a product like that. You're still going to see the redness and the dryness and the irritation and the flaking and kind of look kind of crazy for a minute. But that means that it's working. All right. So here's an interesting ingredient that's come on the market. I don't know what time frame. I'm going to guesstimate the last 5 years. That's kind of the time frame I think that I've heard about it, but it's called bakuchiol. It's a fun little word, bakuchiol. It's a plant-based retinol alternative, and it does the same thing: exfoliates dead skin cells, reduces pore size, helps with discoloration, improves tone and texture. By the way, tone and texture, tone is your ability to, your skin's placement, like where it is and how it feels. And then texture is like, is it smooth or is it rough? Are there some lumps and bumps and things? It's a great alternative to retinoids. So if you don't think that you're a retinoid person, or you've tried and you just can't get past all of that, the bakuchiol is a great alternative to stepping up into a retinoid. It doesn't work as aggressively. In fact, in most bakuchiol products, people, even with sensitive skin, can tolerate them very well. It's sort of like the tortoise in the hair. The tortoise. Bakuchiol is going to be sort of your tortoise in terms of like when you're going to see great results, versus if you're on a retinoid, you're going to be the hare and get there faster. Although I think in that story, the tortoise actually got there faster, but you know what I'm saying, I hope. Okay. Again, I'm not going to make it in comedy. I'm going to stick to skincare and patient services. Concerns. It can make the skin more sensitive as well. So the same recommendation about using SPF would apply with the bakuchiol as it does with the retinoids. Okay. Alpha hydroxy acids. This is basically a chemical exfoliant. There are different ways to exfoliate your skin. With exfoliants, you're going to be removing dead skin cells. You're going to improve tone and texture, improve discolorations, because basically, again, it's another way, kind of like a retinoid, but just works differently, to remove those dead skin cells. Can make you more sensitive to the sun. I sound like a broken record over here, so SPF is essential. And I made a note, which I think I already told you this: if you remove the dead skin cells, you are more sensitive to the sun. And you know what, that kind of brings me to another point, is that when I used to practice in clinic, I'd have a lot of people that would only use their retinoid, during the winter months, if you will, late fall to early spring, because they knew that they were going to be out on the boat or the lake or whatever. They're going to be participating in a lot more outdoor activities, which most people do in the summer. And so they would stop using their retinoid product. I encourage people not to do that. I feel like it should be used year round. You should be protecting yourself. Yes, if you forget to put your sunscreen on, you're going to get burnt. That's going to happen, but that's going to happen no matter where on your body, depending on what your activity is. So I do encourage using it year round, but I know some people only use it during the late fall and early spring. It's a great product to use year round. I think this is the last of the ingredients. Beta hydroxy acids, salicylic acid is probably what you're most familiar with. Again, it's a chemical exfoliant. It sort of dissolves dead skin cells. That's kind of how it works. But it's a great product. It's used in a lot of acne products, whether it's a cleanser or a topical leave-on and a toner, or there are some lotions and creams where it is a main ingredient as well. It helps. It really is kind of like Drano, if you will. It helps to clean out the pores, get rid of that excess sebum, get rid of the debris and the dirt that's in there. And yes, you think your little pores are super tiny and they couldn't possibly have all of that stuff in there. But people who do have acne or bad acne, they do. All of us do have it to some extent, but people who have acne typically have a lot more stuff going on in their pores than someone who doesn't. There, of course, is a bacteria component, but we're not going to cover that. But salicylic acid is a great option for that. One of the concerns, it can be, depending on how it's applied, and I spoke about this the other day, if you use a salicylic acid wash and then you use a salicylic acid toner, and then you use a product that has salicylic acid in it as well, you're more than likely, if you have acne, you're probably going to see it clear initially, but you're also going to be creating a lot of irritation and inflammation. And part of the acne spectrum is inflammation as well. So pick one product of those and stick with that, but don't make your whole regimen salicylic acid, because you more than likely will get some irritation. There was a big acne line out on the market, and I'm not going to say their name, some years ago, and they would sell kits, and people bought them in droves, and every single patient that I saw would tell me two things. One, that they saw an immediate improvement in their stuff, so it looked like it worked. And then some period later, it stopped working. And the reason is because the same ingredient was in the whole system. It was duplicated in every system. And it was basically too much of a good thing. Like, yes, this is a great ingredient to combat acne, but it shouldn't be in every single thing that you're using. It's like having a retinoid in your wash and your toner and your serum and your moisturizer. Your face would probably implode. Okay, so we're going to talk about ingredients to avoid. And although they really are found less frequently out there, there's a lot of talk. People want cleaner, safer, but still ingredients that perform. And the beauty industry is listening. Most of them are anyway. But they still can be found out there. So keep your eyes out. And again, you may have a personal reason not to use some of these ingredients just because, or maybe for some potential health concerns. So I'm going to very lightly touch on those as well. So one ingredient, like what we classify as like heavy oils, like lanolin and mineral oil. Well, oils, and I think I spoke about this on day one. People were like, "Ooh, oils." There are some good oils out there that mimic like your natural skin oils. These oils in particular, they're known to clog pores. Yes, they are very hydrating. They will hydrate and soothe skin to nobody's end, but they can clog pores. And so you're trying to correct one thing, but now you're creating an environment for other problems. So you got to do something different. So again, if those ingredients are in your product, if you remember when I was talking earlier about like where they are in the list, if lanolin or mineral oil is like the very last ingredient in there, I probably wouldn't be too concerned. If it's ingredient number 2 or number 3, I'm personally going to steer away from them. Somebody who has acne should probably run from them. Okay. Parabens. I think everybody's heard the term paraben. Paraben is preservative and used in a lot of cosmetics. Not as much as they used to, again, for the reasons that I stated earlier. People are looking for fresher, cleaner, healthier products out there. One of the things that they say is that those parabens can cause some hormone disruption as well. I'm not here to throw science at you. That's just what's out in the world. That's what I have heard about them. So just depends. I'm not going to give advice in terms of that. I'm not going to cite any data or science regarding that, but most people are trying to steer away from parabens. And I think that a lot of it is we just don't know. We don't maybe definitely know whether or not this is going to be a bad ingredient. But skincare, honestly, I mean, if you have a preservative in there, I mean, how long are you keeping your skincare products? 3 months, 6 months, So really skincare, if you're using a skincare product, you're probably going to use whatever the container, whether it's a pump, a bottle, a jar, whatever it may be, in 6 months or less. And most products are stable during that time. I think I told you all on the first day, I was talking about vitamin C can't be exposed to air. So you will almost always see vitamin C in an airless pump vehicle, sometimes in glass or brown glass as well. So, but this is another thing. I don't know if you all knew this, but when you look at your and I don't have anything here, but you look in your products, there's going to be in teeny tiny little print. You may have to get your readers if you're like me. And you'll see a little, what looks like a little jar with a lid on it. And in the jar part are a number or two numbers, and then an M. And what that tells you is how long the product is good for once it's opened. I mean, if it's been in your closet for 5 years, it's probably no good, even if you haven't opened it. But when you open it, from the time you get it from the store and you open it, it might say 6M for 6 months or 12M for 12 months. So keep that in mind. You can take a Sharpie and write a date so that you know. But again, if you're actively using these products on a regular regimen, you're going to go through them, and that really shouldn't be a big deal. Sulfates. They are typically used in shampoos. You'll see them, although again, less and less. You'll see them designated SLS or SLES. Their claim to fame is they produce lather, and people love some lather. So you will find them in cleansers as well, facial cleansers. But again, to a lesser degree, because people don't want these things in there. They are known to be harsh detergents. I mean, you can still cleanse without having a thick, like foamy lather situation going on. It depends on the ingredients in the product. It doesn't have to lather super, super well to actually do a good job of cleaning, but they're known to be kind of harsh and strip oils from the skin. And when you strip the oils from the skin, you're basically disrupting that barrier. You're removing like the ceramides, the lipid barrier, harsh way to remove that. So you may want to avoid sulfates as well. This is a funny word, phthalates, if you ever try to spell it, PHTHALTES. Commonly found in as part of fragrances and products, and fragrances is a whole other game. A lot of people want to avoid fragrances as well. Most people, it has to do with an allergen situation or a sensitivity. Some people are very, very allergic to fragrance, but has been linked to hormonal disruption and reproductive or developmental issues. So people are really trying to steer clear of that. Interestingly enough, though, the FDA doesn't have any warning regarding the use of phthalates in skincare products. I double checked that yesterday because that's what I've always heard, that they didn't, and I couldn't find anything any different. But the European Union, they do. Their standards are a little different than the U.S. standards in terms of cosmetics. They don't allow a lot of things, whether or not, we're not going to debate that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they phthalates are on their do not use list. So, and all of these you can look up for yourself and determine whether it's appropriate for you. So speaking of fragrance, very common. And there's different ways to get fragrance. Some manufacturers use essential oils, and a combination of the essential oils is their fragrance, which isn't necessarily bad. You can still have an allergy to any one of those ingredients. So there's that. But that's, for most people, that's the situation. They're either getting some sort of irritation, or they're having an allergic response to the fragrance. And so, or they just don't like the smell. Some people are very sensitive. I have fragrance in some of my products, but I will tell you that I'm sensitive to like some perfumes. Like when I pass people and they're wearing something, I'm like, woof. Maybe that's just my personal preference, but most fragrances are actually a mix of chemicals. And that's one of the catching points with fragrance. When manufacturers put fragrance, you don't necessarily know what that fragrance is. And it could be, it could have ingredient in it that is, I don't want to say harmful, but maybe not so great. Or it may have an ingredient that you know that you want to avoid, but you wouldn't know because it simply says fragrance. And what you can do is you can reach out to the manufacturer and ask them and say, hey, you list fragrance in your so-and-so. Can you tell me any more about that fragrance? What is the fragrance made of? So if you have severe allergies and you really need to avoid certain things, you can do that. And they should give that information to you. So, all right. So we're wrapping up here. So how do you know what ingredients you should be using and which ones you should not? So I'm going to cover like the good active ingredients. I'm going to give you sort of a little quick Cliff Notes version of what you should use. As far as the ones you shouldn't be using, that's your personal decision. You can look any one of them up. There's lots of information. You might find conflicting information. Use a reputable source to find your information to make the decision that's best for you about what you're willing to accept in your skincare products. And now that you know a little bit more about your skin, that we talked about your skin type, your skin issues, how to layer products once you get them. And then now you know a little bit more about those ingredients and what they do. Now you can maybe go shopping at your favorite store or online. I think most people order and stuff. I mean, we're an online company, so a lot of people like to shop from their home. But now when you're looking through the ingredients, like, oh, I remember Joe talking about that. I remember that. So that hopefully help you to make better decisions about picking the right products for you so that you don't have the, what is that one commercial, the skincare cream graveyard, if you will. But unfortunately, it is still a little bit of a guessing game. If you go back to my example when I was talking about the ceramide, you know, you may go and grab a product that, you know, oh, ceramides, oh yes, that's exactly what I need because my skin barrier is impaired. And you get home and you use it a couple, 3 times, and it's a no-go for you. It doesn't mean that you can't use a ceramide product. It could very well be an ingredient in that product. But hopefully you are able to sort of narrow down what you need and work from there. So here's some recommendations. Here's just like quick tips. I've talked a lot about barrier repair. So if you need more barrier repair, you want to lead into your ceramides and your niacinamide. Those are going to work best for that. So if you think that you're dry, you're sensitive, you want to look for products that are going to help with that. If you need more hydration, hyaluronic acid and niacinamide or thick emollient creams are going to do the best to super hydrate your skin. And there's a seasonal component to that. I think I remember it was the first session. I changed my skincare regimen up sometimes on the daily, depending on what I need, but I also definitely change it seasonally. So we're having false fall where I am. You see I'm wearing a sweater because, well, it was in the 50s here this morning. But as that humidity drops, I'm born and raised in Florida. My skin is like, where is the humidity, people? But when that humidity drops to like 30% here, my skin gets really dry and I have to work really hard to use products to super hydrate my skin. And I definitely for my face, I have a product that I use that's much thicker night moisturizer. And I put all my other things on and then I seal everything in with that. And that helps to keep me hydrated through those cold, dry winter months. If you're mostly concerned with aging skin, retinoids to remove the dead skin cells and reveal healthy, fresh skin, and then peptides to help build those proteins of collagen and elastin. And then if you have concerns about discoloration, tone, and texture, remember vitamin C is your powerhouse for the discoloration, but also helps to protect. It helps with tone and texture as well. And then your retinoids for that. So like vitamin C in the AM, retinoids in the PM. So those are just some kind of tips and tricks about how to select products. And again, you don't need to have like all of the things all the time. If you don't have a basic regimen in place, don't go trying to add in all the things. Add in a hyaluronic acid, ceramides, and I need some peptides, and I need a retinol. I recommend adding those things in one at a time and getting used to them and figuring out how to incorporate them. Like I said, sometimes at night, my daytime regimen is exactly the same every single day. I do the exact same thing. It's my nighttime that sometimes I feel like I need a little more to make things happen. Like I said, when it gets cold and dry, the heat is on, the humidity is non-existent according to my body outside. I'll every night my final step is always going to be that much thicker moisturizer. So you just kind of figure that out. Oh, we have a question on the OTC bioidentical. I don't have an opinion. You know why? Because I've not seen them out on the over-the-counter market. I actually need to do that, and I have done that in the past. People in the store wonder why I'm there, and they think that I need some assistance. And basically, I'm just going down the line of the products, and as I said, in like the first session, you go to Target, and it's not just a section; it's like 2 full, almost 3 full aisles of skincare products. And I'm looking at everyone. I'm reading the labels. I'm reading the instructions. And I have not done that recently, so I don't have an opinion. But we have an estriol face cream, and I'm not entirely sure that you can get estriol because it is by prescription. So I'd be surprised to see if there actually is an estriol face cream. But now I'm curious, and now I'm going to have to. I have an Ulta around the corner. I may have to head over there this evening and see what I can find out. I mean, I'll go in there and ask for one, see what happens, see where they steer me. So that's it, Maddie. That's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for giving us a little bit of your time today and kind of diving into the ingredients 101. I feel like I learned a lot. I've been learning a lot at all of these, actually. I'm like, we need to do these more often. But thank you so much, Joe, for your time. And I'm glad that Stacey was able to get a question answered as well. Absolutely. Well, for everyone that joined, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your lunch hour with us. I had a great time. I hope you all did as well. If you're interested, we have one more of these happening tomorrow. So it's going to be a really fun one. So make sure you RSVP for that. And we hope that we will see you there. But everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you get a lot of work done. I hope you, if you haven't had lunch already, I hope you have a great lunch. But it was great to see you all. Have a great day, everyone. And thank you again, Joe, for your time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for spending time with us. We hope today's conversation helped you feel more informed, more supported, and a lot less alone. If you're ready to go deeper, download the Winona app. It's free, it's for you, and it's filled with resources, real stories, expert insights, and a vibrant space to connect with women navigating the same season. Have questions? Join our next live Q&A. Until next time, take care of yourself. We'll be here when you're ready for more.